Qu'est-ce que les citoyens peuvent faire, selon vous? Est-ce qu'ils peuvent agir?
Well, they must. You know, this is a moment where actually such bold intervention is taking place in the interests of the financial sector, that, you know, part of what prevents people from acting is this idea that we are powerless. We're told this all the time. You know, basically everyone under 40 years old has grown up with the idea that the government is the problem, not the solution, that we're at the mercy of these global forces.
And then suddenly, ils ont gagné ça, c'est vrai qu'ils ont gagné cette guerre idéologique.
They won that war, and now I would say they're still that the same interests are still winning by getting huge amounts of public money to bail out the financial sector and to ensure their risks. I'm from Canada, and you know, we have public health care. We have a national health care system. It's one of the things that makes us different from the United States. And we won that victory in Canada after the Second World War, precisely because people had seen the intervention of the state in a time of war and the enormous amounts of spending that went into building weapons and building armies. And so you had one politician in Saskatchewan, a man named Tommy Douglas, who said, if you can do this, if there's enough money to wage war, then there should be enough money to have health care for every person in the country.
Donc des gens comme vous, qui pensez que le projet collectif c'est mieux que le projet individuel, vous utilisez cette crise dans une stratégie du choc à vous. Il faut utiliser, nous aussi, la stratégie du choc, c'est ça?
I think crises are messages. Every crisis, certainly the crises we're living now, the food crisis, the oil crisis, the financial crisis, these are messages telling us that there's something wrong with the system. And what I show in the book, as I said, is that we have been living a strategy on the right to unmake the wins of the left since the Great Depression. And that was an example of a progressive shock doctrine, if you will. But it's different because the way the right uses crisis is to consolidate power in the hands of very few, to say we don't have time for democracy, it's a crisis, it's an emergency. I'm Henry Paulson, give me absolute power, you can't contest any of my decisions in court. It's a strategy really to avoid democracy. I don't think the left should do that. And I think the left, historically, the far left, the communist left, has done that. I'm proposing a democratic response to these crises. And if we look at the way in which the New Deal in the United States was won in the 1930s, it was not this strategy of consolidating power and restricting the political space. It was a huge populist moment. It was the moment, it was the height of populism, which just means that it's popular, right? It's a dirty word now, but I don't think it should be. And it was a moment where you had a huge organizing of trade unions, of consumer groups, of renters. You know, the reason why we got public housing in the United States, the reason why Fannie Mae was created in the first place, is not because FDR decided that. It's because there was so much direct action and pressure. People were being evicted from their homes, as they are today, foreclosures. And neighbors would organize together into these solidarity groups. And when their neighbors' furniture was being moved onto the street, they would move it back into the house. They would take that kind of direct action. This was the sort of pressure that created a context where FDR could say to Wall Street, look, this country is moving so far to the left that we need a compromise, and the compromise is the New Deal. So I don't think that the left should be using the tactics of the right. And I think we should be doing something very different, which is opening up political space. I call it disaster populism.
Merci beaucoup, Naomi Klein. La gauche a du boulot. Ils sont en France, on est mal barré avec notre gauche et les malades. Ils pensent qu'à eux, ils ne pensent pas au pays, malheureusement.
Merci. I've noticed that. Merci à vous.
Merci, Naomi.